Hi, I'm Fatima.
And I'm Angie, and welcome to Career Talk.
This program will introduce you to a variety of careers from professionals working in those fields.
So Fatima, why is this so important?
Well, one of the best ways to learn about which career is right for you is to ask individuals working in those occupations, kind of like we're doing today with Tony, who is an attorney at law. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks for having me here today.
Great. So our first question for you today is, what led you to decide to follow this career path?
Wow, that's a great question. It wasn't a direct path for me by any means. After college, I went into business for myself in the Bay Area. I was a shopkeep and maintained a couple of stores there for a few years. Then I decided that I wanted more out of life, so I went to law school with eventually hopes of going into the FBI. But shortly after I developed that dream, I'll say that I realized that probably law enforcement wasn't the place for me. I really enjoyed owning my own business, so private practice was certainly something that I wanted to go into. Once I graduated in 1997, I completed my law school education, and I've been in practice ever since.
Wow, that's great.
Perfect. And how did you get started in this field?
Well, private practice is something that was not new to me. My parents have a firm in San Diego where I was raised, and my dad still practices to this day. So private practice, helping people with everyday problems is something that I certainly saw a lot of growing up, watching my parents do the same. So I knew I could do that. And the business background that I got out of school, operating a couple of stores, certainly gave me a good foundation to take that business experience into the practice of law.
Wow, that's wonderful. It's nice to see how some of those skills actually transferred over, the skills of owning a business and running a business into now your practice in law. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, certainly it's proved to be good.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that many people have assumptions about what lawyers do, maybe what they see on TV, but can you actually describe what a typical day looks like for you?
There's no such thing as a typical day for me. Any given day I could be doing work in the office. I may be in court. I may be out in the field doing inspections of property for clients that I represent, or perhaps involved in a process in somebody's office, such as a deposition, or any one of a number of things. But certainly meeting with clients or having face-to-face interactions with people in numerous cases on any given day is very common for me. So I guess if there's any one common thing, it's constant interaction with a whole variety of personalities and people.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting.
And what do you like best about your job?
The best about doing what I do is, and it doesn't happen very often, I'll admit to you, is achieving a result for somebody that truly gets them to a place where they are happy and with the result that you obtained, and where you know that justice was done for them. And that doesn't necessarily mean having to go to court to get a result for them, but rather perhaps negotiations in a commercial dealing that they may have, or simply trying to work out a problem that they have with somebody that's close in their life, that perhaps some friction has developed between the two. Helping people better their lives and move themselves forward is the number one satisfaction in this job.
Oh, we hear that a lot, helping people, in different occupations, and how when helping people, you can do it in so many different ways, and that seems to be a lot of times one of the things that motivates a lot of the guests that we've had on our shows. So that's wonderful. We love helping people too as counselors. So
Definitely.
Good.
So what are some of the challenges that you see in your line of work?
That's a great question. Without a doubt, at the far other end of the spectrum, the biggest challenge is having to face a client who desires that you produce an unrealistic result. They want something that I simply can't provide. The reality is that attorneys are nothing more than pieces of the justice machine. We are not, and I'm not a magician, I can't make the facts in somebody's life be different than what they are. I can help them navigate the options that are available to them as a consequence of what the facts are, but I can't change results that have really been cast in stone before they ever came to see me. And sometimes that's a real hard thing for people to understand.
So difficult situations, like dealing with difficult people, like they're when they're feeling like in a dire situation.
Yeah, obviously when somebody goes to see a lawyer, in most cases they're doing that out of some level of compulsion. They don't want to be there. It's kind of like going to the dentist in that respect, you know. So, often I'm dealing with people who are not in the best state of mind. They're not happy to be there, and they know that by and large it's going to cost a significant amount of money, whether through me or as a consequence of whatever the problem is, that they may end up paying a lot of money to make the problem go away. That's not always the case, but it certainly can be a point of common frustration that I see in clients.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
And what would you recommend to individuals interested in getting into your line of work?
Wow, what a wonderful question. Calls for a lot of introspection. The reality is, as far as I'm concerned, that there's not any one type of person that is necessarily predisposed to being good at being a lawyer. I come to that conclusion after having graduated and been in practice for a very long time. There's lots of different personalities, and I think that anybody can do it that sets their mind to it. Certainly one has to be dedicated to the task at hand. So anybody who is desirous of getting into the law needs to recognize that it will be a very large time commitment, both in the study and ultimately in the practice of it. There's a phrase in the law that every law student hears their first day of school. Some professor will say it, and that is that the law is a jealous mistress, so you better get used to spending time with her and not with your family.
Oh, wow. And I guess as a follow-up question, what do you recommend for students wanting to get accepted into law school? Is there any advice for that process?
Well, certainly one would hope that they're good readers.
Okay.
The ability to read and discern from what they read what is important versus what is immaterial or irrelevant is important. Again, I don't think it's necessary that any undergraduate field of study be necessarily followed in order to go into the law. There were students in my law school class who were music majors. There were some that were English majors and everything in between. Engineers. In fact, because I went to school after having been in another career, the majority of my classmates were actually second career people as well. And there were some physicians. There was even a dentist and a retired surgeon, a gentleman who'd been a doctor practicing for 40 years. And he wanted to do a radical change in his career. And boy, wow. He did it at about age 65. He went to law school to become an attorney.
Amazing.
Wow.
Wow.
So I think that anybody who's well-driven would be well-suited for it.
Perfect. Thank you.
So you kind of touched on this, but what are the skills that somebody absolutely would need to have to succeed in this field?
Obviously, a strong reader. One probably skill that is overlooked that any good lawyer needs to have is the ability to listen. Not simply hear what the people are telling you, but truly critically listen to what they say, because only through doing that can I see that I can ever put myself into their shoes so that I can understand what motivates the client, what drives their decision making, because absent that, I can't, in my opinion, be as effective in getting them the result that is the very best for them than I could. So critical listening is certainly a very, very important skill.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Those were all the questions we have for you today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Being on the show. And this program was brought to you by the Yuba College Career Center, who believes to be happy for life, love your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.